Docking request accepted.
Except this is
Good morning, New Eden. Today is March 15th, 2026, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout. My co-hosts are Samson.
New Eden no minasan, ohayo gozaimashita.
Night Flyer's like, huh? I don't.
For those that don't know, I said good morning to everyone in New Eden.
And
Very
Night Flyer is also with us tonight. How's it going, Night Flyer?
Hi, doing well. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show. Do kind of a roundabout tonight. It sounds like Frozen and Samson about some stuff with Awoxing and stuff within faction warfare.
Are you accusing me of something?
No, I'm just saying.
So yeah,
Don't call
there are some big updates that are coming out. I believe they've already fully come out. And then there's more changes that they're going to be making to this. There's also like some kind of campaign or military campaigns that are going to be introduced in the future. So they're kind of cleaning up a few things in faction warfare. And I think that, at first when I heard about the standings thing, I only heard about the first part. I didn't pick up on the Night Flyer. Thank you so much for the.
I know, right?
Holy
44
cow. months in a row. That's crazy, dude.
I know. I gotta stop that. Although I do get rid of the commercials, so it does help.
It does.
So,
yeah, that's
do have that going for me.
Commercial-free zone. They're not implementing
Sorry,
the
didn't mean to
standings
interrupt.
hit yet, and won't. There's talk about it being all fired up. But yeah, so basically, there's some standings changes that they're making and some mission changes that they're making. All of it to and when it comes to basically they're stopping all the negative stuff for faction warfare to standings. So if you join faction warfare, and the thing about it is, even though it's a much smaller amount now than it was a long time ago you were getting hit on like everything, like killing NPCs, and I believe missions at the very most definitely had, if you shot, and up until just recently had until you shot, if you shot anybody in any NPC in faction warfare missions, you would take a huge standings hits to the opposite side, which is why I have like -10 or something like that with the Keldari at this point, because I did run a lot of missions back in the day, and so they're not only that though, they're making it so that if you get a promotion, you won't take a standings hit. They're making it so that if you do any of the missions now, they're revamping the missions so that none of those will take any standings hits for doing that. And the big thing is that even with the small amount that it is now, people blew this out. I've seen multiple posts on Reddit that blew this out of proportion. That was like, if you join the Galente faction, you're going to take huge, standings losses for every Plex that you run, every NPC that you shoot inside of Plexes. And I was like, nope, that's not true.
I think I got rid of that in like 2012. I mean, it's been a while.
Right, but so a lot of these myths like kind of carry over. So hopefully by making it, and that is a big deterrent for people, because you don't want to get kicked out permanently from Keldari space like I am. It's going to take work for me to actually ever get Frozen to be able to operate out of Keldari space, even now that I'm quote unquote a good guy. I'm no longer, haven't been I've been killing under my quota, so I never get into the red anymore now that I'm in Nullsec. But yeah, so the standings changes are going to be really interesting to draw people in. The other thing that they're doing is making it so you can't fuck around and try and get under a corporation and make it so that you can just hide out there with really low standings. So one of the big changes that they're making is
Y'all were sheltering Gwen.
Yeah, well, you never had negative. Well, what did you have? What was Gwen's standings with the Galente? You were actually lower than negative.
I think it was pretty low, and we worked on it a little bit, and got it up to negative 0.5. I think it used to be lower than that, like -1 or -2, something like that.
Yeah, I don't think
maybe.
you had -5, so you can still have characters that have negatives in their standings for the Kaldari. They just can't be -5 or below, which is a really hard number to try and to gather. Basically, you have to do an insane amount of missions. You have to do old school warfare or faction warfare. Maybe a few other ways that you could get like really low negative faction standing for the other side, but just normal mission running doesn't usually give you that much. Where you're going to be, it's possible for sure with normal mission running, given enough time. But in any case, this is really a good way to stop people from being able to just sit at -10 and join a corporation that's already in it. Now, from my understanding is, so what they're saying here is, if you have -5, you aren't going to be able to join a corporation that's
faction warfare
enlisted, and I believe
you probably wouldn't be able to enlist either, I would assume.
Yep, you can. Well, you can enlist if you're don't have at least positive. Or 0.0 standing. So where was the thing here? So the main thing is they kind of came out with this Standings and Awoxing update on the 10th. That kind of breaks down a little bit what they're talking about here. Okay, corporations with faction standings below -5 will be removed from faction warfare corporations within 24 hours after receiving a warning. So basically, once they turn this thing on, they're going to remove all of the -10 characters from faction warfare, which makes a whole bunch of sense. If the character in question is the CEO of the corporation, the entire corporation will be removed instead. Characters will no longer be able to join faction warfare corporations or alliance if their standings with the faction, corp, or the alliance they are listed with are -5. A corporation which is not part of faction warfare will be blocked from joining an alliance anywhere in faction warfare or join it themselves if any member is already below -5 with the faction they are trying to join. So that right there is a pretty huge. Yeah, the CEO thing is nice, but the CEOs of the frac groups aren't going to be PvPing or anything, anyways. Yeah, no, I think that's just an added, just to make sure, that you can't really kick out the corporate, the CEO from the corp. But you have to have it some other way. So
that would be a fun scam. It just automatically promotes somebody and kicks the CEO out.
That would be.
Aha! I have all your shares now. Taking all your shit.
So the one thing that this doesn't stop is enlisted corporations, or corporations that use enlistment. But the enlistment, you still, in order to enlist, you have to be above like 0.0. So that's going to be I think, a good thing. I think that this is going to, like we were talking before the show, we have not experienced AWOXing too much. And actually, we were talking
Gwen
about
experienced it the most.
AWOXing is actually so unfamiliar.
And even then, it wasn't that big a
in
deal
most
to
games
me.
that it's just called friendly fire, but we call it AWOXing because it's named after a player that started this whole AWOXing concept of joining up with somebody, befriending them, and then shooting them when they least expect it, and is the most profitable or just the most fun. So I think that this will help with AWOXing. They're also doubling the amount of penalty that you get for AWOXing. If you are players who attack other players inside of faction warfare capture sites, such as battlefields, will now receive twice as much of a penalty when they are attacking that player, which can be pretty substantial. It doesn't take much to get down to -5 if you are, especially if you're potting. Potting is a huge hit. The average Galente battlefield is now 100-man.
Not wrong.
Seagull fleet.
You're not wrong, Hemp.
So that is another thing that that is the problem that's going to arise, is seagulls. This hurts the people killing the AWOXers more than it hurts the AWOXers themselves.
Well, no. That's a good
point.
They shoot you first. If they shoot you first, then you don't take a standings hit.
Correct.
Shooting them back.
But the whole idea is, how do you deal with seagulls at this point?
Pooch, you do not take a standings hit if you engage someone who's already engaged you. So if someone shoots you and attempts to AWOX you, they take a standings hit. You can then engage them after that freely. Only you, though. Only you. If anybody else engages them, they will take a standings hit. So it's only for it doesn't like go out for your whole fleet or whatever. It's only for the person.
Well, anybody that has an engagement
engagement timer. Yes, you can rely on the engagement timer if someone hits you with the engagement timer. Yeah.
So, and then also, if you shoot pirates, people who have -5 or below sex status that are permanently able to be shot anywhere in space, you also won't take a standings bump. Standings hit. But
so if someone comes in as an AWOXer that has a -5,
it does seem like there's going to be a lot of pushes for people to be seagulling instead. So what this does is it does. I think the idea of what they're doing is to protect it for new players coming in, and they don't have to worry because they want to push new players into this. So I think their focus which is going to cause problems, is on how is the new player going to interpret this, make it so you can't kill a new player easily. Last BF payout I did was 56,000. So it sounds like, and I haven't been to a battlefield since this has been announced, actually.
It's been a while. I haven't, neither of us have been to battlefields.
But it sounds like there's going to be a lot more seagulling. And I know that the other things that I've heard about this is that a lot of it goes to neutrals, or just having alts on the other side in order to, force out people and, still use... basically, you have protected eyes at this point. It goes from being like, somebody that you might be able to jump somebody with really easy to a protection system to anybody that is trying to, spy on your fleet or seagull your LP.
So Puchu, one problem saying that I see, though, in faction warfare is like new player friendly PvP, and AWOX are fighting new players can't get help. They will always lose, probably. Well, if there are, so it tends to happen within the groups. Like, for example, Galamil, people will report you as an AWOXer, and if you get enough people saying you're an AWOXer, they're an AWOXer, they'll find ways. You can find ways. Neutral alts, for example, you can get rid of AWOXers with neutral alts.
But not something new
you can
players can deal with.
you can avoid them. No, but if they're on militia chat, or if they do, I mean, I guess I would recommend to join up with a corp, right? Because if you're just brand new and you do the enlistment, that's you're it's going to be a lot harder for you than if you join a corp. Because if you join a corp, then people will be like, hey, watch out for this asshole. He's an AWOXer, and you can leave when they show up, or you can report that they're there, and you can have somebody come take them out. But yeah.
And there are so I mean, one of the things is that they can start implementing things, and there are stuff that is in other aspects of this game that help mitigate seagulling. So seagulling is basically they're not doing anything to help. If you force them to actually do stuff and participate in the PvE activity, like you have to be running the site, or you have to have killed, some NPCs to a certain degree can be done. There, it would. There are opportunities to try and handle that, but I do see that as going to be one of the hardest things for them to tackle, and I do see that this does help seagulling to a certain degree. Now, one of the things that I really do like with this, and it's something that's interesting because we've run into it a little bit. We haven't actually run into it, but we have the potential of running into it in 0.0 stuff. So players who attack players outside of faction warfare sites. So outside of faction warfare site, I wonder if that means gates and stuff too. Like they said, a Metanox grid will now receive a 0.5 standings penalty current to the Tranquility setup. So they get half of the penalty instead of double the penalty for doing it outside of a faction warfare site. So that's
interesting.
They also fixed it so that you can bubble people in faction warfare space and not take a standings penalty if people tried to warp out of your bubble.
That kind of makes sense, because if you want to do bubble gate camping and stuff for bubble camping in lawless systems, honestly, you know what I think? I think the lawless system shouldn't have any faction hits. Why would you? There's no laws there. You can AWOX freely.
Seems fair. Yeah.
But then you can take them. You can take out the AWOXers, freely. But that's just
doing anything that's that gets I mean, every time that you do the thing, and if there's anything that like burst jamming and firewalling, or even just doing a smart bombing.
Burst jamming. Like, that one sucks, because what if you need to get your fleet out, you have to take a standings hit if you want to escape. If you burst jam everybody to unlock you.
So we'll see, though. I don't know. I do like that. I like the idea of the way that they're kind of tackling this, where it's a one of the biggest ways that I knew of that was just a permanent, easy way of doing AWOXing was was putting a -10 character. And to be honest, in Galente, I never really saw us really doing this out on the play field, of using that to hold off seagullers. I did, there was a time, for a short time, that I did see people bring in a smart bombing battleship to the entry point of a battlefield to hold off a seaguller once before. And so they might have been using the trick. I can't remember if they were neutral or not, but they used one of the tricks to make it so that they would be able to hit a bunch of seagullers all at once.
Yeah, I mean, that's the typical way to deal with, is have neutrals that you can, neutral alts that you can warp in and get rid of them.
Yeah, and it puts a lot more work into dealing with seagullers. And it sounds like
It
that
does,
it's
yeah.
already, it's already become an issue where seagullers are really ramping up the idea of running sites without, the one thing is really they did a lot better. They used to have it, maybe you could be anywhere on grid and get the LP. Now you have to be within a certain amount of space. So this is something that it's going to hit the LP payouts for large sites like the and I imagine that this is also for pirate stuff. So this could definitely hit a lot of the pirate corps and see how much seagulling is going to be happening in their sites.
Yeah, I think Hempshaw has a point, though. If a fleet mined an entire asteroid belt for 40 minutes and then 5 minutes before the last asteroid pops, a fleet of Ventures could warp in and automatically be awarded a fair share of the entire belt from the fleet's cargo hold, seagulling would be a logical thing to fix. So, and that's a pretty good comparison because, like, it doesn't happen anywhere else, right? Like, the faction, the LP is yeah, it's just awarded to them for being there. I mean, yeah, they would just, I don't know what the fix would be necessarily. They just have to participate, right? They have to actually do something, or maybe it's adjusted for participation rather than just being in there. Like, for example, you were in the like before battlefields, uh plex a complex. You go in and say you did the entire thing, you were there for the entire 10 minutes of a novice. Is that what they're called? Scout. Fuck.
Times have changed.
And if you were there for the entire time and you were the one participating, you were shooting the rats, or not shooting the rats, just running down the timer for the entire 10 minutes, then you would get the full amount. But if you come in at the last 2 minutes and run it for 2 minutes, then you should only get 20% of that 10 minutes, right? That might help a little bit, because then the seagulls would have to be in for the entire thing. And then with battlefields, I feel like the problem with battlefields, though, is there's so many different things to do, right? Like, if you're running one of the beacons, that's one thing. But if you're running one of the ABC, one of the nodes, that's one thing. But if you're camping the entrance, like, keeping out the enemy, like camping the enemy's beacon, that's another thing. But that really would, if nothing happens, then that wouldn't really count for anything, right? Because if no enemies come in, then you're just sitting on a beacon not doing anything, even though you're technically doing something, like you're part of a fleet that's, so
Yeah, I mean,
battlefields
if they're
are.
gonna go this way, like Hemp is saying here, is that currently the system was, or what it was AWOXing was what was used
AWOXing was the fix.
Was the fix to seagulls, and there even the threat of it, which is what stopped them from doing it. You didn't even need to have the potential to do AWOXing. Because a lot of people don't want to AWOX, and you'd have to have, a special setup to really get you to be able to go and do AWOXing. Just the threat of it kept seagulling, at least in the Galente war zone, down quite a bit. Now, seagulling has been around ever since faction warfare got the battleship, or the battlefield edition, with the front lines and everything like that. There was a little bit about seagulling of like going and stealing people's flex, just arriving when there's only like a half a minute left and you'd be able to steal. It is a lot more intensive to be able to analyze these things, because just having it be, anybody within the circle gets this LP doesn't there's more CPU and stuff that needs to be dedicated to like analyzing if they've been in it for a certain amount of time, how much, if they've been killing stuff, see if they get participation could cause some issues, but um but yeah, it is a balancing act. This definitely is a huge hit to AWOXing. And I think that as a Galentian, I don't think I've experienced that much of a problem with AWOXing. So I've experienced more of a problem with seagulling throughout the entire game. So I could see how people are upset because it's definitely hurts AWOXing, but it does huge devastation to seagulling at this point in time. But I know that the Mimitar Amar Warzone is a little different. Being in a pirate faction is different. They experience a lot more hits with AWOXing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, true. The current solution to seagulls is AWOXing, and this might make it harder to do so, which would also make seagulling more popular, potentially.
Yeah, so we'll see if they come out with some stuff to mess with seagulling. I know that they've, done so in the past to a certain degree. Definitely not enough to stop seagulling at this point in time. But so that is, the sad part about this change is AWOXing hit, seagulling boosted, definitely. The other things that they're changing is faction warfare missions. They're making them less of go out with a bomber and blow up a couple of ships to clear out the entire thing, take in the loot, and the loot is going to be. Oh no! If you don't do your job, I'll shoot you. Anyways, excuse me. Missions are going to be geared towards getting tags, and so from what I heard, it's like 40 to 60 million ISK in tags that a level 4 mission will drop. But now they have it, not something that you do in smaller ships. You need to, if you're doing it solo, you need to do it with, a battleship, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so the bombers and stuff like that are no longer designed to just be able to go in and easily clear out these sites. But it does seem like they're trying to get it to be more of a fleet activity, which also makes sense. You just get a bunch of people to queue up a bunch of level 4 missions, and then you go out in a fleet and run all these level 4 missions. And if you can be efficient enough, you can bring in your dropping an MTU and having somebody, pulling in more wrecks as well with a tractor beam and running salvagers. You could probably clear out entire sites pretty quickly, move on to the next, and make 60 million ISK per pop in tags, which, there is a huge hole in where do you get tags at this point. So that could, help with filling that hole. But I've heard that level 4 missions, are not worth it at this point, is what people are talking about, unless you can find a quick way to scoop up those wrecks and get all the tags. And that you do have to run the entire site now. And it is a beacon that everybody can see.
Yeah. Were they at least good for like faction for standings?
I believe
Like
that this, if they didn't change it, that's the way that you got standings before. If you wanted to boost your Galente standings really quickly, you just ran a couple of level 4 missions, a few level 4 missions, and you were able to get up pretty quickly.
Yeah, a little bit harder than, or more dangerous, I should say, than say doing like the SOE epic arc. That does take a while, but it's a good plus 0.5 or whatever to your standings. Or 0.7. I think it's 0.7 maybe. To whatever faction you choose, which is what's cool about that. But yeah. I mean, I know that because I had to do it in order to get Gwen to be able to enlist. Because her Galente standings were low enough to where she could be in a corporation that was Galente, but too low to be able to enlist on her own because of all of her work with the MR security level 4 missions. And the Galente feds, man, they just looked tasty. They had lots of loot, so I would blow them up. My bad.
Well, I've only run like the level 1 missions anytime recently, and they definitely weren't worth it. You're going, I want to say the one was like literally 12 jumps through low sec,
Mm-hmm.
and to get there for like no payout, and then have to like obviously come back into friendly space. And if I were to, I was just in a frigate. If I were to do that in like I wouldn't do it in a battleship. You're not gonna make it.
Yeah, not unless you have support. You're like baiting or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have a Blops fleet on standby or a bunch of cloakies or something, a battleship maybe, yeah, sure. A battleship's, yeah, it's either bait or it's gonna get blown up. I know this for a fact because every time someone would undock a Praxis in Yvangir, Gwen would murder them. Maybe
So
not
there is
specifically.
let's see here. Orion says that there is a letter to CCP from a bunch of militia CEOs and a couple of the CSM. Interesting. I'm trying to see if I can find anything here. I did not see that, though.
No, I didn't. Oh, it's on Reddit.
Always on Reddit.
Everything's on fucking Reddit.
Well, to take a step back about LP, again, I don't think it's ever really been a huge issue with me about people taking LP. If you do
post it on the
faction
Discord.
warfare enough, you're just gonna collect it. And they haven't really made a good way of turning LP into ISK or streamlining that process for too much, at least from my standpoint. And
I think that the one big thing that they did do that did streamline it, but made it more of a weird economy because they didn't create like a wallet for it to easily do it, is the transferring between players. And it's not even transferring between players, it's transferring between a player and another corporation.
Yeah.
And it can be your own or it can be another person's corporation, but you have to donate it to a corporation. There is no log of that. There's no way to say, I'm giving you this LP and I want you to give me, this X ISK in return. It has to be a faith-based system when you could easily make it a, something that would just be, a transfer of I give you X amount of LP, you give me X amount of cash. That would be really nice. So there is, I don't think it's still not newbie friendly, I would say, but it's more newbie friendly, I think, to tell them, okay, just go to a broker, a trusted broker, give them a little bit, of LP, in small doses. Don't give over millions and millions all in one go. And even then, they should be trustworthy. If they're open brokers, because usually they're not going to do it on one deal. They're going to screw over people. It's going to be this big other thing that the bank is, these LP banks are doing. In any case, so there is a little bit, but you are right. I think streamlining how to make LP into useful items and or ISK and just getting straight up ISK for your LP is a huge thing that would be nice in faction warfare.
But also,
you just making
it easier would make seagulling more prominent.
Well, that is, I would say, if you don't deal with the seagulling problem, the more that you make faction warfare desirable, the more seagulling is going to be.
Yeah.
And they
And
did
making
say
it
that they
easier, I
are
guess.
watching it. They know it's a problem. They are not doing anything specifically here. Oh, can you go find that that letter? They said they posted it in our Discord.
Yeah, let me look for it real quick. Ba-doop-boop-doo.
Greetings or
Yeah,
gentlemen.
signatories, username, alliance permission. So yeah, this is let's see, Young Puke, Shaw, Aderon, Valsent, Vintine, Vortex, Monger, Dead Forever, Damon, Switch, Bookerin, Casper, Drake, Dujek, Sven, Bear, Captain Sam, Shirley. So yeah, it's all the major players in the. Wow, this is really. Which one of these is the start?
Do an AI
Unless-
analysis of it and tell us what it.
Yeah, I mean it's a
thesis
lot. Yeah.
statement. So I mean, imagine that the basics of it is that they're not happy with this change.
Well, here's a potential solution in there. A potential solution would be to exclude inactive characters from standings calculations after a certain period of inactivity, such as 30 days or more. By ignoring characters that have not logged on for a meaningful period of time, the system could avoid penalizing corporations for maintaining memorial members while still addressing the core concerns around AWOXing.
Interesting. So one of their concerns is memorializing characters that
I could see that. So like Ice Steve is in our corp and
yeah,
he passes away, or did pass away, and then we never kick him from the corp, but his standings are enough to drag us down to the point where we could get kicked out.
yeah, that's yeah.
So I could see
or
that.
well,
could be a
they will
potential.
automatically kick him out if at this point
Yeah.
Well,
it'll just kick them out instead of dragging down the corporation, because that's an interesting one.
Well, here's a specific. I found a specific part about seagulling. This pertains to what we're talking about. A second major issue involves seagulling, which has been a long-standing problem in faction warfare sites. If AWOXing becomes more difficult due to standing restrictions, many players are concerned that bad actors will instead shift to using large numbers of alternate characters to enter sites and steal rewards without contributing meaningfully. Currently, the most popular and profitable sites, particularly ice heists and battlefields, are already vulnerable to this behavior. Without changes to the site reward mechanics or participation requirements, the new standing systems may unintentionally worsen the seagulling problem rather than solving the underlying gameplay issues. And then there's a bit about social dynamics here. Another concern relates to social dynamics and player cooperation. Faction warfare thrives when players can easily group together, recruit new participants, and encourage experimentation with different characters or corporations. Strict standing requirements can discourage casual participation, prevent players from temporarily joining friends and other militias, and create additional administrative barriers for corporations trying to recruit. Instead of fostering cooperation, these changes risk fragmenting communities and discouraging newer players from entering the war zone. I guess that kind of like speaks to what was it? I don't know if it was Orion or Hemp. Somebody mentioned that new players will have more trouble with AWOXing than others because they have no one to stop it from happening or help them or warn them necessarily as much. Let's see what else we got here. No.
So Orion and Breath That Cares is going to be on Lou's podcast or Lou's show or stream.
Lorus.
Loru.
oh, cool.
Loru.
Lorus.
Cool.
And
I got a chance to hang out with
this
him in
more.
Iceland a little bit last year. That was pretty cool. He's a
Yeah, and
good
if
guy.
you ever want to come on to the show, on our show, and talk to us about that, let us know. We can definitely set up an
About
interview.
trash.
Bear That Cares.
Bear That Cares. Ah, you and Bear That Cares, yes.
Bear That Cares.
Care Bears.
But yeah, it's I have to say that I didn't think about seagulling as much until somebody brought it up in the middle of because I haven't been playing recently.
It's good that you did because again, yeah, we haven't been in faction warfare very much lately. We'll try to get back. Maybe we'll do a faction warfare fleet this Wednesday, provided there's no ops, or maybe we skip the op and do the faction warfare fleet anyway. um, because I think we've been neglecting FW a little bit in game, so maybe we should deal with that.
Yeah, it's hard living in the South. But yeah, is there anything else that we want to talk about before we wrap things on up?
No, I think that covers that. That's a pretty good covering of that topic. I mean, there really needs to be something solution-wise for that. I think. I don't know.
Well, there is Firefly. Firefly.
Yeah. Well, Firefly. Yes. Sorry. Firefly.
Yeah,
if anybody's who noticed that Nathan Fillion has been posting, and all of the original cast of Firefly have been posting that Firefly is this close to being greenlit as a animated series, a reboot of Firefly or a continuation of Firefly, as an animated series is in the works. I think the only thing that they're missing right now is a network to air it. They have everything else. They have an animation studio. They have all the original cast on board. They have rights from, I think, is it Fox and or Disney or whatever. They have the rights. And they have Joss Whedon as blessing. And
who is not going to be involved in this.
No, and
they have showrunners.
They haven't watched Firefly. Unbelievable.
Well, wow!
It's one season long.
It's okay.
It's okay.
As I mentioned, it's one season. I mentioned before the show, it was like a lot of, I feel like there are a lot of brown coats in Eve. And once you watch it, you'll understand that reference. But there are a lot of fans of Firefly that play Eve.
It's a lot harder to get a hold of Firefly these days, I think. I think it's on HBO.
Yeah, I wanted to know what it's
only.
on.
I think it's
HBO.
on HBO, I bet. Something like that.
Hold up a minute. Where can I watch Firefly?
Go on the YouTubes.
Hulu and Disney Plus. 14
Hulu
episode series also available for purchase or rental on digital platforms such as Apple TV, Fandango, and Home Vudu. So if you have Hulu Disney Plus, it's free. Well, not free, but it's part of the
package.
But if you can purchase it on Apple TV, Fandango, or Amazon Prime. You can also purchase it on Amazon Prime. So it's not that hard to get a hold of, to be honest. Now I want to fucking rewatch it. I get chills hearing the theme song in my head.
But I myself, like most people, I wasn't part of it when it originally came out. I remember kind of seeing it, and it was kind of like Cowboys in Space. Like,
hell yeah, that's exactly it.
You're looking like 6-shooter, and you're like, well, this is a Star Trek Generation time. This is kind of Above and Beyond was on. Just
it was like an underdog
space
for sure.
Opera, yeah, so it was odd. It didn't know where it fit, but it was one of those things that you came in years later.
It's a space western.
You're like,
man.
Oh, this show was awesome. Like, there was such a storyline, the character development, and it was
so good.
And that the final movie that they had was
the final
great.
Movie was really good.
Except for Alan.
Wait, don't
Puddick, who got hurt.
Oh, he got hurt.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. So,
hey, calm down.
Spoilers. So if but I'm curious because I know him and Nathan Fillion are still close friends and do a podcast together or a broadcast together. We Were Once Spacemen or whatever. I've watched a couple of episodes. It's good. But it's also cool because they did
to build up a podcast if you're a famous person.
Yeah, well, and they say that's how you start.
Yeah, we know. I've been over this. I've done many podcasts at this point. I've been podcasting for fucking like 15 years, and
so
it's a sore
get
spot.
Famous first, then start a podcast.
You can't get famous with a podcast. You can only get famous with. You can only be famous and then make a podcast, and then your podcast is popular.
Right.
There's no examples that are in reverse. There aren't, and the ones that are industry plants. Okay, I'm not
Industry.
crazy. I'm not crazy, but when a fucking podcast appears out of nowhere that you've never heard of this person before, and they're interviewing celebrities constantly, and it's super popular, all of a sudden they're an industry plant. I don't care how much that they say, "Oh, I just started this podcast in my garage," and no. No, they're not. No. And I know that, and that sounds. See, you triggered me, Frozen. God damn it! Why'd you?
You have been
It's a
triggered.
sore spot for me. It's definitely a sore spot for me with the whole thing. But anyways,
But it will be
I
said
love
that Ron.
Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, it will be said that Ron Glass, who passed away.
Yeah, he did pass away
Quite a while ago, but
so I'm wondering if they if
yeah, obviously, I wonder if they're
and
going to still
when it'll
incorporate his
take.
character.
Yeah,
His character was cool, so that's
yeah, his character was really cool. I liked his
kind of
character.
like a priest. He was kind of like a
Yeah,
priestish.
yeah, he was
kinda
like the
thing,
space priest. He was
so
I mean, you
cool.
got to have a priest in a long-standing Western, right? You got to have someone to confess to or whatever.
Yeah.
But it that being said, though, I think it would be pretty cool, and it probably well, I can't say better because there's a big chunk of nostalgia that you can't get past, but I think they can do a lot with an animated series. One of the things I like about animation is you can do more than you can do in
Right, you're not
like live
constrained
action.
by your set piece, and
Yeah, you're not constrained by sets. You're not constrained by people's physical capabilities. Granted, I guess it doesn't employ stunt people, which it kind of sucks for stunt people. They're part of the industry too, but like you know, it does employ, however, voice actors, which although I'm assuming all the original cast will be voicing themselves, but they've already done voiceovers and other stuff. So
I think
voice
I'm
actors.
trying to think. I don't, other than maybe Marion, Baccarin, whatever her name is.
Marina Baccarin.
Yeah, who's.
Marina.
But again, she's all over the place. And a lot of these people, obviously, Nathan and them they're.
Oh yeah,
around.
they're all
very
over the place.
popular actors.
I think if you're gonna have this, you're. And Gina Torres, she's obviously been busy on stuff too. So
yeah, she is too.
You're gonna have to. Yeah, I think doing when I saw the animation, I was slightly disappointed because I was thinking
you wanted to see live action.
Yeah, I wanted to see a live action, but given how these actors are all busy, they're getting older, they've got other things, that this may be the best way to do it and push it forward. And again, the series never had like a real finale, which was always the thing. It was always kind of set up to have also 2 more seasons, and we never got them. We got the movie, and that was the closest we came. So
I feel like it hit better for the people that didn't necessarily watch it originally when it was coming out, because it was aired in some weird fucking stupid order.
Yes. Yep.
And so when you watch it, on one of the streaming services now, you'll see it in the proper order, and then it's not like weird and confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be very confusing to watch it with. I mean, and this was the day and age when it was you had to have cable TV and
yeah, you had to record stuff. I didn't even think there was DVR yet, right? It was
I remember that having like the VCRs. They had to have like 2 VCRs. You can only record
yeah.
If you get properly programmed to record at the right time. But also, I think they can do a lot with the reavers in anime that they couldn't do.
God, it was 2002. I was 18 years old.
Yeah, I don't think I discovered Firefly personally until maybe about maybe 10 years ago.
It wasn't too long before the movie.
I don't remember when I watched it.
Where was the movie?
I don't even know how I would figure out how or when I started watching Firefly.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say I probably would have been after Hulu was like a thing, because I think that's how I watched it, was on Hulu.
I think I watched it on Netflix, to be honest. I think it was Netflix.
Yeah, that's possible.
When let's see.
I think it was about 2005 is when, like 2004, 2005 is when I learned about it.
Oh yeah, 2002. It was on Netflix.
The 3 old wise men. Yes.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
In short,
calm
if
the
you haven't
fuck
seen the
down.
original Firefly series, go see that. If you haven't seen
was
Babylon 5, go watch
Firefly on
that.
Netflix?
Babylon
If you're a
5 is
space
another
nerd.
one. Yep. That's
Yeah, if
even
you're a space
older.
nerd, these are two must-sees for you. So,
Yeah.
and if you can ever see anything on Above
No,
and
it's not
Beyond, Space Above and Beyond,
Yep.
Anyways.
That was a really good.
that's
I
another
did
one
watch
that
that
was
one that
really
came
good,
out.
and that ended way too soon. That was a good episode. But that was one of the
Also,
first ones that started using like CGI or computer enhanced
Night
graphics.
Flyer
So.
is a player in his 50s, so
I haven't played in my 50s. I was probably married with kids when all these shows
We're
came
not-
out. So.
we're not there yet. Frozen and I aren't there yet.
No.
We're close. Getting there.
But I'm the youngest looking out of the three of us, so I don't know how that happened.
Ah,
Mhm.
it's all
yeah.
it's all the gray in the beard. Sorry, fucking knocked this
It's
shit out. It's all
moisturizer. It's all the
gray in the
moisturizer.
beard.
That's
That's my one
glasses.
advice to all the young kids. Start moisturizing. Start moisturizing
yeah.
now.
You
Moisturize
can't
now.
see my luxurious mane though because
Shots
of the
fired.
fucking.
Shots fired.
You're-
All right. Well, other than that, though, yeah, Eve is. It's been kind of a little bit of a quiet week. It feels like. I do know. Actually, there was like a big explosion over a Fortizar from HK Hard Knocks. Had a Fortizar that was in Drone Lands. That billions, like a trillion some odd ISK was blown up. I don't have it off the top of my head here, but yeah, there was like our old friends Get Off My Lawn were there as a third party along with Minmill Fleet, I believe. HK. Oh, and actually, that was happening on Thursday. I was talking with Tank, and we were playing Stellaris, and he was in the big fight. It was the first time he lost a Zernitra.
While he was playing?
Yep. While he was playing Stellaris, he was playing Eve and was inside the big fight with his Zenitra, and he got his Zenitra blown up. He said he got on a bunch of other really great kills, but he did lose his first time he had ever lost a Zenitra, so he was he was like, fuck.
I actually made it through. Actually made it through a major fight. So that's
There were Zerns there too. Was that the same one?
Oh yeah, which one was I on?
I don't know. You said you didn't get to kill any of the Zerns, but they were there.
Yeah, they were there. All right, yeah. I can't type. Typing's hard.
No, that was on Wednesday night, wasn't it? No, on Tuesday or something.
Tuesday? I don't know. My flight was on the 11th.
Yeah, so that was.
And that was in. What was that? D-Tech I. I think we actually kind of lost that fight a bit, but we got slammed. I don't know. I got a bunch of kills. I came late because I had life, and then gated my what did I have? I had a ship. It was a nice ship. Cyclone Fleet issue, and I actually was able to gate that over to the fight just before the bad guys were. No, I take that back. I gated a bomber over and then was able to pick up a Cyclone Fleet issue in a close by system before the gate camps got set up, and that's how I got into the fight where everybody else is in maelstroms. So they had the range on me, but I had a little more pop, and I don't know. Like I said, I got my kills, got some good stuff, took out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Raven Navy issues, a slew of whatever. I also had fun kind of popping some little like vigils and condors when things would get out of range, and if they were still in range. So I could throw missiles on them. I wasn't worried about, my projectiles. I had missiles. I was going to hit you. So ruin those guys' days. But that was fun. It was probably not the biggest fight I've been in, but it was a large fight, and I didn't get primaried right away. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, that is nice.
Because the first 2 fights, I was primaried first and then primaried second.
Yeah.
And so that kind of
It's always super annoying.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
but fun times, and I will be getting to Faction Warfare more. Not this. Later this week. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens on our fleet too.
Yeah, Mango's got some shit to do. So.
We'll see that. Maybe we'll go do some seagulling.
Awoxing. Oh, I got a
I'll
couple wolves
AWOX you
that can be AWOXed.
personally. I
What
think that's
system was
okay
that
because you're my
in,
corp.
Night Flyer.
What was that?
What?
What system was that fight in?
DTEC I.
DTAC I.
Geminate, right? We've been fighting in Geminate mostly.
I don't know locations.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the map, All right, well, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and thank you for coming on. Have a great night.
Have a good night, New Eden.
Good night, everybody, and thanks for watching the show.